Finally, the Germans were free to travel between east and west without restriction. The celebrations lasted for days. Eight months later, on what had been the no man's land between east and west, the largest rock concert ever staged on German soil marked the end of the Berlin Wall.
Towards the end of the 80s, when Roger had separated from Pink Floyd, the idea of doing The Wall as a big show came up again, and we investigated the idea of doing it, in the Sahara Desert or in extraordinary places, Monument Valley in America, somewhere where we could make a big statement.
And then in '89, in November '89, when it all started to disintegrate, it became completely obvious that maybe Berlin was going to be a place where it would be possible.
The wall in Berlin, it was just Roger seeing the opportunity, the obvious opportunity, to reproduce his piece in a place which would have some further meaning, perhaps.
In the hurry and scurry of it all coming together, we didn't really think whether we were right or whether we were appropriate, in a sense. We could see that there was this very direct, simple analogy between the wall and the wall, and that one dealt with the personal alienation and one dealt with the political alienation, and no one went any further than that, if you like, into the appropriateness of the creativity.
If you tear down your personal wall and become more vulnerable again, you give more love. So symbolically, I suppose that did fit in with Berlin, which was then able to integrate. Families that were split apart were able to rejoin and go and visit one another.
You needed something to mark that moment, and this was a very, very convenient thing to do.
I guess the symbolic connotations were more important than the rock and roll show.
We looked at a number of different sites in Berlin, but Potsdamer Platz, which had been the no man's land between West and East Berlin, surrounded by two walls. It had a wall on the west side and a wall on the east side, and it was this no man's land in between. And it had been the place where Kennedy had made his speech and so forth, and a number of people had been killed.
Everyone knows that this Potsdamer Platz has been a place for death. People try to come over the wall, and they died.
It then took on a whole kind of new vibe, because nobody had been on that ground since 1945. So